jobs and shorter-term jobs, but I can tell you how a lot of these short-term jobs that we sometimes bring in, and short-term is still a long period of time. And this project is not a short project. It'll take a couple of years from ramping up to completing the project. Some of the things with this project that are with a lot of the project that Concern does is that there are both requirements that are coming from the state that are also requirements coming from the local community. So there's an MBE, WBE requirement on this, an SBVOB or a veteran requirement on the project. So 30% of the contracts have to get fulfilled by those businesses. So we work hard at that, not just with the community, with the state, and making sure that we can find these contractors to fulfill the requirements. We've never had an issue ever fulfilling it. If anything, we exceed the requirements on fulfilling that. And there's lots of ways to do it when you actually really want to do it. And we always follow the intent of doing it, that there's sometimes you're hiring a bigger contractor and we're doing a deal where that they're using the smaller contractor, they're doing purchasing from the smaller contractor, so everybody's getting the opportunity to do that. So separate, there's a community, a CBA agreement, the community benefits agreement for this project. That's something that was implemented that Ralph had taken on when he took on the project. And we did early on when we thought we were going to start the project, it was new, I think, right? No development had really occurred under this. It was new for everybody that we took our own latitude to make sure that we kind of implemented an internal program to make sure it was actually successful. Because I think part of the thing that sometimes people get apprehensive is people say they're going to do these things and then they find ways not to do them, or they put in relief because they say they can't fulfill it, where we really went out of our way in our first round when we thought we were going to proceed with the project to make sure that we were going to fulfill this, not just working locally with the community first to help us, but we got lists. We sent out, we went over and above, we did advertising, we did certified mail, right, which you don't, right, you don't have to do that, right, they don't give it to you, the rules to that extent. We reached out to these contractors, subcontractors, and we put together a program where we made sure that our outreach was actually there, that we could actually, get, even when people said they didn't respond, we would do what we had to do to call them and get them to physically tell us why they didn't want to, promote the project. So the CBA on this project is 30% of the entire contract value. And then on top of that, even the contractors that beyond the 30%, everybody has to hire 30% local workforce on top of that, right? So there's a heavy requirement to hire locally on the project. Hire locally could be everything from vendor suppliers, material suppliers, all the way down to all the subcontractors. So where I found in doing this through the number of years that it's different, that sometimes that's great, right? The project's going to ramp up and ramp down. At some point we'll be running, typically forces on a job like this, 150 employees a day will be on that job, working full-time for the duration of the project. What happens is a lot of times is that you get a company that maybe isn't technically a local company, or they are, and they hire somebody local, and although this project finishes and moves on and Ralph gives permanent jobs to a certain amount of people through his building operating and so on, these people retain jobs. And so they get a job with a plumbing company that's doing the major plumbing in it, and 30%, they're hiring 30% local, and then those locals retain their jobs. They get an opportunity that they didn't have originally to learn a craft, to get into a skill, and then they retain the job. So then they move on. So although that project ends, they move on and they're working now for so-and-so plumbing or so-and-so contracting, and they have a job, and so that's where the long-term jobs come out of what I do, separate from what Ralph would provide in operating the facility, that people sometimes find careers out of this, because they got the opportunity to work with them. And there's a heavy amount of local workforce requirement that's put onto this. All of our subcontractors that we work with when we did the first rounds are all well aware of it. They're bound to it in our contracts with them, that they understand that they have to hire 30% local when they're hiring. So 30% of the workforce on a job, even if it's not a local contractor, will still be local workforce. It will be somebody that we worked with Reginald Benjamin on, or somebody that we brought in that we trained. He's got programs where he's training people for skills. They got an opportunity that maybe they wouldn't have had, and now they have a job well beyond Estella. So it creates a lot more than sometimes people think in terms of opportunity and longevity, and it really gives back to the community. And then we find that once we're involved in a community, we've gotten relationships that they don't, just because I may not have a project active after this one, the relationships are there. We're consistently contributing. You know, we're contributing to school fundraisers, to everything. So I think that in the end, I think that you'll find that the project will bring a lot of net benefit to the community as a whole. I appreciate your time.
Thanks. Reginald, Benjamin?
No questions?
This is not a question and answer. If you have a question and you want to talk, please take it outside.
I'm Elder Reginald Benjamin. I'm the Executive Director of Apple Leadership Center, which is a not-for-profit, community-based organization dedicated to helping people in the local community. I also spent 20 years working in Nassau County Jail as a chaplain. I worked with several organizations, including the Office of Minority Affairs through Free Administration. I've worked with, partnered with several other groups, including people that are here today. We have LTI that is here. We have Derek over there with Renaissance. We have Amazing Contractor over here. And we have several other community advocates right here today. We would like to see the development move forward. That's my position in terms of that. And in terms of jobs, let me say this. We have worked on the Twin Oaks. From the Twin Oaks, we went to South Franklin Street to help build those projects. We was over there to help, even at 303, which is a overpriced thing. We was there. We have done the charter school. We have had people working there. We have had people working at Mazda. We had people come in that didn't have skills that are now electricians, carpenters, and professional laborers. We have I would say over 300-400 people have gotten jobs as a result of the effort that we have put in. We have partnered with businesses and we insist that they hire locally. People call the jobs temporary, but our people do not work temporary jobs. They just go from different sites as the new projects come up. So this story about temporary work is just a lie. I have my son here. He started a new organization called Black Jobs Matter. He done trained already over 200 people, giving them free OSHA training to make sure they're prepared and ready to go to work. We have trained well over 1,200 people. We've been waiting for these projects like this to go forward for the last 10 years. Some people we are trained because they have no work in the village of Hempstead has to go work in the city as electricians, carpenters. Many of the people that work with us started as workers, like this young man that got up here and spoke about he started his own business. We have several people like that. We have been in the newspaper several times in terms of for the work that we have done in the community. I stopped taking citations and awards because it ain't about that. It's about helping the local community. And many of the young people are forced to leave here because they can't afford to live here. I have my sons right now, two of my sons. One is 31, the other one's 34. Both work. Cannot find a affordable place to live. I wish I had 5 more minutes. But let me tell you this, I'm supportive of this, and I know Ralph has been knowing him for years. He has funded a lot of those training programs that enable people to go to work. Those are the kinds of people we want developers, we want in the village of Hempstead. And I'm gonna tell you now, if they decide to move this project forward, I guarantee you we will be there.
Thank you, sir. That's all I have. That's all that indicated you wanted to speak.
Yeah, I'll sign. Where's mine?
You didn't say you wanted to speak.
Right at the Hampton too. Yeah. All right.
Please just say your name and the telephone, please.
Peace in the name of Allah. I'm Aubrey Muhammad, Aubrey Muhammad. Peace in the name of Allah. I'm Aubrey Muhammad. This development is being misrepresented today. It's being presented as affordable housing, when in fact it is a ploy. It is part of a bigger plan the scope that is 279 acres, that is 12% of the village, that is gentrification. Lamont Johnson had the audacity to appear before the last Hempstead Village Board meeting and present this case as affordable housing that kills the narrative of gentrification. How ironic that this urbanization of Hempstead has been going on, has been planned since the early 80s. The Johannesburg brothers that own Winthrop Terrace wanted to build 2 10-story buildings back in 1983. They've been planning urbanization for decades in Hempstead. They've been given tax breaks. $20 million a year has been siphoned and the economic blood sucked out of this village. That's why property taxes are sky high. I know people paying $2,700 a month in property taxes. Now how are you going to invest in the community with that? That's by design. Now, the hypocrites, Don Clayton, did I say his name right, Clayton? And Tom Swazi, did I say his name? Swazi. Democrats and Republicans have teamed up together. They found they had something in common. Keeping black Hempstead a permanent underclass. Governor Hochul, did I pronounce her name? Hochul. Just called for urbanization of suburban Caucasian Long Island. These 2 representatives stood up and wants everybody to oppose it. They don't want urbanization in Caucasian areas. But all those involved, enabled by this board, will urbanize black Hempstead. 7 jobs will come from Estella. All these temporary construction jobs you're bragging about. That Korea is in essence a Korea knowledge. You got talent, you can take that anywhere. We do not want this in Hempstead. Thank you.
Jerome Scott. I'm sorry, I said Jerome. Jamal Scott, excuse me.
Good morning. My name is Jamal Scott. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Hempstead Public Schools. The question for the district and the public schools is, how does this affect the children? How does this affect the school district? I understand that this development is maybe 75% studios and 1-bedrooms, which most people will say that children will probably not live there, not many children live there, but we know that children live everywhere. We know that there will be children throughout this project. We know that a development that has over 100 dwellings will probably have at least maybe 30 or 40 children on an average from historical data that's in the community where there are apartment buildings. So if you take the pilots and you look at how much taxes or the pilots that they're going to be paying, if you look at that dollar amount, how does it equate to the cost of educating a child, right? In the public schools or in the charter schools, in general in Hempstead. So we have to look at, I'm not saying that the Hempstead Public Schools is for or against the pilots or against the development. But what I'm saying is that when we are bringing pilots and we are bringing developments into the community, we have to look at holistically, not just for the way the community is going to look and for jobs and things of that nature. We have to also look at how it's going to affect the school district and the taxes. You know, someone mentioned about the taxes to schools, the $600 million. Let me just clarify. The levy amount that we levy for the district, for the community, the village, and Hempstead Public Schools is $75 million. It's been $75 million, $75.9 million for at least 6 years in a row. It has not increased. If your taxes have increased, in school tax increase has nothing to do with the amount that the school district is levying. It has other factors involved. So, with that in mind, we have to ask ourselves, how does it affect the school district when it comes up to giving developers pilots coming into the district, into the village? Because that directly affects the school districts. I see that there's a $2 million contribution to the village sewage. Where's the contribution that's going to help educate the children that's going to live in this development? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Would anyone else like to be heard? Please come up and state your name. Let me just make sure the stenographer is still all right. Julia, can you hear everything still?
Yes, still can hear it.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name is Alicia Thompson. I just, before I exit, I just want to say I'm against
I'm
this.
sorry, what was your last name?
Thompson, Alicia Thompson. Okay, hi. No problem, you're welcome. And I just want to say before I leave that I am against this project. I don't go for it, it's unfair. As we know, Hempstead is very, very crowded. The traffic, the people, and I don't think that it's right that this project is going to try to go forward if we don't need no more pallets. Please reconsider, because it's very, very unfair. Hempstead is a dumping ground. Everything is being dumped on Hempstead. I just don't oppose this project, and I'm not for it. That's my opinion before I leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Just please state your name for the stenographer.
Hello, my name is Terrell Huddleston.
Jamal, did you spell your last name?
Huddleson.
Thank you, sir.
I'm the executive director of Black Jobs Matter. Started the business with the idea of helping people get jobs, training, been very successful in that. I come to a lot of these meetings and I see a lot of people come here and they're always against projects, but I never see them offering anything else. And I never see nothing else going on in Hempstead. I'm for the project because of the jobs that it brings and the opportunities it brings. People that came up here and said temporary jobs, but jobs can always be temporary depending on how you build relationships. The only thing we can do is put people in position to be successful, but you have to, make it be something else. I done seen people come out of jail from doing 25 years, and now that same guy, his name is Keith Ingram, he's in the city now, he's driving trucks. He started off with us working in projects and getting into the union, and he diverted, he did something else. But he started working through these jobs and through these opportunities. So again, like I said, I'm for development and I'm for Hempstead changing. And I feel like a lot of, not to be disrespectful to anybody, but older people don't want to see any change. And how do we move forward without change or without growth or without any type of development? I see them stop projects, but I don't see them bringing the alternative ideas that's going to bring money into the economy, that's going to bring jobs into the Hempstead and going to change it. The problem, in my opinion, is the people that we have in place that's supposed to make sure that when development comes in, that they do the things that they're supposed to. They take these little side deals and they don't do it. They don't hold the people accountable. And I think one of the things that I've seen over the years is we've been able to hold them accountable. When I say we, I'm talking about our Leadership Center and Black Jobs Matter and the things that we have been able to do. And I think the people that we have already in place, we need to have them do their job as far as keeping the people accountable to doing what they're supposed to do when they come into the village of Hempstead. That's what I think is the problem, is more so in-house than it is outside. That's all I have to say. Again, I'm for development and for the project.
Thank you,
Sure. Please come up to the telephone and state your name for the stenographer.
My name is Derek Armstrong of Renaissance Construction. I think this project should go
What was the
on.
last name, sir? Please
Armstrong.
spell it.
Armstrong.
Okay, thank you.
I think this project should go on. This project been trying to get this project on since I think 2016. I'm a contractor in the village of Hempstead. I've been a contractor for over 30 years. And people talk about taxes and taxes going up. But let me say this. I bought my house in 1986. I was paying $3,500 a year. And now I'm paying close to $18,000 a year. What's the difference? I can understand why people complaining about projects. Ain't no projects been going on, that's the problem. You go to Garden City, there's projects. You go to Rockville Center, there's projects. You go to Amityville, there's projects going on. It ain't nothing going on in the village of Hempstead. When there was projects going on, we had peoples in the village working. I helped build a charter school on North Franklin. I had over 22 employees, and 17 of them was from the village of Hempstead. I got them from Apple Center, and I just can't understand why they keep holding a project up, which is going to benefit the village of Hempstead. You keep talking about taxes going up every year and no project. So why are we complaining about taxes? Let's make this project go on so we can put some people to work and so we can make things happen and put people in homes, because you got families, you got 2 and 3, 4 families living in a house. You know, you get to a point now, Long Island becoming like Queens, where you can't even find parking. People parking all in front of your house because you got 3 or 4 families living in one house. Come on, let's make this thing happen. People need to stop knocking this project down and look at the big picture of this and make this thing happen. That's my opinion on this project.
Would anyone else like to speak before I close the meeting? Okay, thank you very, very much, everyone, for attending and testifying. We're observing it's 11:07 a.m. and we are closing this hearing for Estella Sinadai. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you could take conversations outside, we have another hearing that is already late, but